Welcome everybody, this is Chris Cox for another Kiss guitar lesson. Today we're going to be doing Calling Dr. Love from my favorite Kiss album, Rock It All Over. So for the tuning for this song, it's going to be a half step down from standard if you want to play along with the video or the record. So let's get started with the intro. So the intro is going to consist of these chords, an E5 chord, and that's just playing the open E string, and you're fretting on the second fret of the A string with your first finger. So we have play those two strings together. The next chord is going to be a G power chord, and the way I'm playing this is I'm going to be fretting on the third fret of the low E string and on the third fret of the B string. The other notes, the D and the G string, are going to be played open, and then I'm muting the A string with kind of the flesh of my finger with my middle finger, so you get that kind of sound. So we have this so far: E, G. Then we're going to D5, and that's just open D string. You're going to be fretting on the second fret of the G string and the third fret of the B string, and you can do that with your middle finger or third finger, whichever you prefer. So we have this so far: D, and then the A. And the A is going to be played open A string, and you're going to be fretting on the second fret of the D and G string. Now, we're going to add the little subtleties. So, in the beginning, the very first few bars, they're doing the those are pick scrapes, okay? So, pick scrape is basically you just scraping your pick across the strings, but you're not fretting anything. You're actually laying your fingers across the string so that it mutes. Okay, so we get that, the low E, and then we go down up pick scrape. Go that real slow for you again. Okay, so after you go through that one time through, then you may play in the full chord, which is like a okay, so there's going to be a little bit some changes to that. So when we play that low part of that E5 chord, we're going to grab the open B and high E. So we do it. Okay, so it'll be a down and an up and then a down. So the downs, you're going to have a down on the E5, you're going to come up on the open B and high E, and then you're going to come back down and change to the G. So it'll sound like this. Then another down up. Now when we go from the D5 chord to the A, we're going to be playing so that little chord in between those changes is just playing the open D and G string together. So we get a to the A, and then A back to the E. So it's all together. Now, there's obviously two guitar players in Kiss, so there's some alternate parts in there. You can play it where you stop the chord, or you can play there's another part where the chords are ringing out, so it kind of sounds like this. So you choose your part that you want to play. So we're going through that intro is also the main riff for the verses. So if you know that intro riff, then you know the most of part of the verses, and you know most of pretty much it's the rhythm underneath the guitar solo. Yeah, it is the rhythm underneath the guitar solo. So we'll talk about that. So we're going to pretend we're kind of on this last bar right before we go into the pre-chorus. So you'll hear. Here we go. Okay, so that's right before, I call it the pre-chorus. That's the riffs right before we go into the chorus. So basically what you're doing on that last pass through, and we come back to that E, we're playing the E. And then we're going to go from G to D quickly. Stop that. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to bar your first finger across the 7th fret of the D, G, and B string. And then we're doing you're going to hammer on with your middle finger here on the 8th fret of the B string. And you're going to hammer on with your ring finger on the 9th fret of the D. And we get this. So you want to make sure you get all those strings in, the D, G, and B string. Then we're going to shift up 2 frets. I'm going to bar my finger across the 5th fret of the D and G and go. And then I'm going to shift down 2 frets. And we'll do the same thing, barring across the D and G. Okay, let's play this whole thing slowly. Or slide it anyway like that. So we go into the chorus. Pretty much the riffs and the bass are pretty much together. I kind of listen to the studio version versus the live version. It almost sounds like that there's not a whole lot of guitar. It's more of the bass playing this kind of melody underneath. But in live situations, the guitar's been following the bass. So it sounds like this. Okay, so we start with a power chord here on the A and D strings. So that's going to be 7th fret of the A string, 9th fret of the D string. You're using your first ring finger. We're playing those 2 strings together, A and D, and that creates an E5. And we're doing then we're just playing that open E. Then we're going to play that opening again and go. And that's going to be from the 7th fret of the A string to the 5th fret of the A string. So it's. Then we're going to go to the B note, which is on the 7th fret of the E string. So we're just play that one time, and then we're going to shift down 2 frets, the 5th fret of the low E to the 3rd fret of the low E, and go. Okay, so let's play that together slowly. Back to that E5 chord again, repeat. On the last time through before we get into the second verse, we do a little riff there. So we're going to. So we start on the 5th fret of the A string, and we're going to play in. So I'm going, the frets we're using are 5th, 3rd, and 2nd on the A string. So we do a. So 5th, 3rd, 2nd, open, A. Then we shift down to the 5th fret of the A string and go. And that's just D note, A string, 5th fret, B note, 7th fret of the low E string, A note, 5th fret of the low E string. So back to the low E, that the E5 power point. So we play that again. Back to the same thing again, so everything is the same with the second verse. Now, when we go into the guitar solo, so let's pretend we're coming out of this and we're doing a... The chorus doesn't change. After that riff, this will be the guitar solo, so this is the rhythm underneath that. Same chords, we'll just let them ring this time. Sorry about that, I missed that one. So nothing really changes there. So that rhythm guitar part underneath the guitar solo is the same thing as the verses and introduction riff. So after that, when we come back out of all that, we can, after the solo, we come back into that chorus riff that. And I should say, before this solo, guitar solo, we do that hold on that note after we do that riff. That and there's a drum fill that Peter plays right there, goes through and then repeats again. Holds again. So there's a couple parts in the songs where you just hold that D note. And the drum fill plays and repeats again. Now this is the part where you're chorusing out. This is the very end of the song. So instead of holding that E note on the A string, 7th fret of the A string, we're going straight back into that riff. So we're going. Or you can do a. I think it feels a little easier to go back up instead of grabbing the E right there, just to go back to the E5 power chord up here, the 2nd position versus the 7th position. But you can play it either way. It just feels easier to me. But instead of holding out that note like we did with the drum fills, we're going back into this. So it starts off with a hammer-on from the 5th fret of the A string to the 7th fret of the A string. So we're doing a. Now, there's 2 notes being played there, the D note and E note. So, but I'm just plucking the string one time, so that's where the hammer-on comes in. You're actually hammering on with your 3rd finger to that E note. After that, we do a pull-off. And it's actually a hammer-on in there as well, but you can do it 2 ways. You can play it like this, where you pick the note, or you can do a pull-off, and then a hammer-on with your ring finger on the 7th fret. So. From there we do 7, 6, 5, 3. So 7th fret, 6th fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret of the low E. When we get to the 3rd fret of the low E, we're doing a big pull down. and then back, and we're going to bring that note back up to the original pitch. Keep your first finger behind your second finger and allow that finger to help you bend that note. So much easier that way. It just gives it a little bit more stability, not so much strain on your middle finger. Now from here, we're going to go down and bar our first finger across the 12th fret of the G and B. Play those two notes together. Now from here on the 14th fret of the G, we're going to bend up. And there's a fast vibrato there when you get it all full bend. Okay? The hardest lick to me in the entire song is that little lick right there. So it's just you know, lots of kind of staccato type playing in there. It's great you know, just awesome Ace Frehley phrasing there. So we got so let's break that part down first. So we do a 14 to 12 on the G, and then we're going to go back to the 14 on the G. Start at just, you know, here at the A, then we're going to bend that up, and we're going to let, you know, once we get up here, we're going to stop the note. Then we're going to do it again. This time we're going to bend the note up, let the note sustain as it comes down, and then pull off from the 14 to 12. And then end on the 14 to the D string, 14th fret of the D string. So, and then the final note of that lick, that before we start the second part of the lick, is on the 12th fret. So let's play this slowly. So, okay, so that's how it'll sound up to speed. So the next part, once we do the, so that's, you know, real similar, but just slight different arrangement of the notes. So we come back to 12, 14. You're going to pick this note twice, that 14th fret of the G. And then so you'll pick twice, but on the second time you pick that, you're going to bend that note up and then again bend it up, let it come back down, and you're going to pull off from the 14th to the 12th. And then you're going to grab with your middle finger the 14th fret of the D string. And then the last part of that little lick is going to end on the 14th fret of the G. So let's play that again. Now this part we're doing a, so real, you know, Ace uses this blues lick so much in the Kiss solos. I just love how he's able to do that, and to me it just never really sounds exactly the same. He just changes it just a little bit. It makes it very interesting. So what you're doing is you're bending up with your middle finger on the 14th fret of the G. Then you're going to bar your first finger across the 12th fret of the B and G high E string. B and high E string, not G. So we got that part ends on the 5th fret of the B string, and then it repeats again. The only thing that's different that time is we're doing a hammer-on pull-off from the 12th to the 15th of the B. So let's play this together. Then from there we come back, hammer-on, 14 of the G, 12 of the B, and then a really, really big overbend on the high E. And then from there we're doing another hammer-on pull-off after we bring that note back down. And that's just pick the 15th, and then you're going to do a hammer-on pull-off from 12 to 15 back to 12. Now, when we get back to the 15th fret of the B string, we're doing full bend, a little vibrato on the end. Then we're coming from the 15th fret of the B to the 12th fret of the B. We're back on the 14th fret of the G. Now when I bend that note up, I'm going to keep that note ringing because I'm going to come down here with my pinky finger on the 15th fret of the high E and grab that note. It's a really cool sound. And then let that note come back down. So what we have so far, then now that little lick there, we're doing a pick from here, 14, 12, and then we're doing that little bend up again and pull off. So you're bending up on the 14th, bring the pitch back down, and then pull off. So we'll play it again. I'm getting a little confused there. So that's it. So when you come back up to that bend up, pull down, then you're doing a hammer-on pull-off from 12 to 14, and then 11 to 12. So then we're coming from the 12th fret of the D, the 14th fret of the D. You can hold that note out and put some vibrato on it, or on the album he does a big overbend again, pulling down on the D string if you want to do that. And then we have a so after we do that, we're holding this. Now you're just basically, before you go to this last lick, you're going to play on the 12th fret of the D and G and let that trail off. So I'm just, letting the note ring and just let my hand slide. And we're doing so that slide is going to be from the 5th fret of the B string to the 3rd fret of the B string to the 5th fret. And the 4th fret of the G, and then 3rd fret of the B. And that's a hammer-on pull-off from the 3rd fret of the B. So I'm hammering onto the 3rd fret, and then pulling off to an open string. And then I'm grabbing the A note on the 2nd fret of the G. And now from here, I'm doing a hammer-on pull-off. So it's going to be 2nd fret of the G, 4th fret of the G, pull off to the 2nd fret of the G, pull off to open, and then grab the 2nd fret of the D, and then your open G. And then on the last note, you're going to grab this A note, which is the 2nd fret of the G. You're going to bend it all the way up. And then that's the end of the solo. So I'm going to come a little closer, and so you guys can see the fretboard a little closer, play all this for you slowly. Hopefully that's in focus. So let's start from the beginning.